Comment or suggestions? Do we have any public comment or suggestions? It appears not. We will move on to item number 3, approval of minutes from February 7th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I'd move to approve.
Alder Peckham moves to approve. Alder Neal seconds. Any edits, suggestions, revisions? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 4, discussion and possible action approving Phase 2.1 of the Sylvan Hill Bike Park improvements. Ms. Polly?
Yes, I'm going to try to share the screen so I can pull up the agenda. There we go. Oops. Too many pop-down menus here. Go up. Okay. Can't get to the right one. There we go. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm going to share with you the agenda packet, and then you can see in here. So this is a continuation of a project that you saw back in originally October of 2020, and then there was work done in 2021. And this would be the second 2 parts of that work that CWAC, the Central Wisconsin Off-Road Cycling Coalition, would like to do out at Sylvan Hill. They did the phase 1, so I have in the packet as a refresher their kind of overall plan. They did the phase 1, the return trail construction over here last year, and I believe some additional downhill runs over here. And I do see that Aaron Ruff, the president of CWAC, is on the call if you have any questions for him. And then we have yet to put in, there were some boardwalks that we had agreed to build for CWAC. They are built, now they just need to be put in. So our department is coordinating with CWAC to get those placed, and very soon they'll be placed and those areas will be done. So now CWAC has come forward. They have raised additional funds for what would be 2 and 3 of this plan, which 2 is an expanded skills area, and 3 is some dirt jump areas kind of up towards the top. So they do want to move forward with this, similar to last time. Now that they have the funding, the request of the committee is to allow us to go to a RFP and enter into a contract with the selected contractor to get this work done. The approximate cost is, and I have that in here in the summary, is about $16,750. That is what the quote was that they were getting. They're getting that solidified, but it's around there. So, Aaron, did you have anything to add for this?
No, I think you got it all. We're just looking to continue our phase 2 project.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
I would be interested in hearing Mr. Ruff describe a dirt jump area, what that entails.
I'll go to that page.
I would love to hear myself describe it because I don't know if I'm going to get it right. Essentially, what it is, I would describe it as a mini version of what we already have. So it's really a short circuit type of trail development where there's going to be 3 different short jump lines, basically. And it's really meant as a skill building area so it's a great place for new riders or people who just want to session the dirt jump zone to do it quickly. So in the segment that we're looking at, there's actually a good amount of elevation there that would create some nice circuits. It's actually we have a very similar sort of skills area out at Ringle Trails, which is essentially the same. It's a very short loop with 3 or 4 different options, and so they progressively get harder as you go through them. It's a great way for people to kind of get some quick laps in and develop skills.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Then we're looking today for a motion, correct, to approve this phase of, for the RFP, is that correct?
To allow us to go out to
Yes.
RFP for it, yep.
And the 16,000 plus, it sounds like that's being secured privately, is that correct, Mr. Ruff?
Yeah, correct. We have that funding available already in our general fund through membership, through business sponsorship programs, et cetera. We have that money ready to go in our funds.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion, we move ahead with this project.
Could you specify the motion a little more, Alder Larson?
Well, I recommend, I will make the motion that we go ahead with this Phase 2 project for Sullivan Hill.
For the RFP?
For the RFP, yes.
Okay, thank you. And was there a second? Yes, by Alder Neal. Then, any more discussion? All in
I would
favor?
just-
No, Alder
If I
Peckham.
could, I would just want to add a commendation to the CWAC organization for all the work they're doing and the money they're finding to put into this valuable project.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Peckham. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Item number 5, discussion and possible action restructuring .75 FTE motorized recreation coordinator to 1 FTE recreation coordinator. Ms. Polly?
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to see if this works. Oh, there we go. I wanted to make sure so the camera wasn't on in the council chamber, so now it is. We can see you talking. So I'm going to keep the agenda packet up on the screen. This is something that I'm bringing it to the City Parks Committee really more as an FYI. When I did talk with our city finance director today, it's not something we do have to take through to the finance committee or to the city council because this is a county position and we're not asking for any budget amendments. But the reason why we're making a change to a position is because currently we have a .75 recreational trails coordinator who mainly does our snowmobile and ATV trails. So it's 100% either county or grant funded. That person is leaving to take a full-time position, and we are looking at ways of making this position into a full-time position that serves the needs of the department in the areas that we really could use help with, as well as attract somebody for a full-time position versus a .75, because I think that's very hard. Right now, with any positions that we've had are hard to fill anyway, so if it's not full-time, I think it's even harder. So one of the ideas we have is to, and we're going to see if this works, we're hoping that we can make the recreational trails coordinator a .5 part of this position, and the other .5, if we make it a full-time position, would be a recreation coordinator. So we're going to change the title to just a recreation coordinator versus the motorized trail recreation coordinator. And the idea is that for half the year, they would work on trails, and half the year, they work on aquatics. Much of that aquatics work would be for city pools to help Mark Doro, who's our recreation superintendent. He's our only recreation staff we have right now that's full-time. He works with all seasonals and part-time staff, and really could use some help in the summer in order to do some more with recreation programming. The pools, we have 3 city pools plus a county splash pad that take up a lot of time. And one of our goals of our department is to increase recreation on both the city and the county side. So having somebody that can work in that capacity with him would allow him to work on enhancing the recreation side of the department, both for city and the county. So it is a lot of work on the city side. I think that the idea long-term is that eventually these two become 2 separate positions again. But I think we need to work them into that, knowing how our budgets are. We need to kind of feel out where the best fit for that person is, where we can best utilize them. But the idea too with raising recreation options is to also increase the revenue from recreation programs. So some revenue will come in to help offset this position over time also. The ATV and snowmobile coordinator position is predominantly winter months. There is some work over the summer, but not a lot. And the same with aquatics is predominantly summer months with a little bit of work preparing for the summer over the winter. So we feel that it's a pretty good seasonal gap. The difference is for this to make it from, and I have the form that I have to fill out for the county when we change a position is included in the packet and kind of describes, where we're at. I won't go through all that, but the biggest thing I'll focus on right here is the explanation of the funding part of it. So to add that .25 position, .75 is already funded on the county side, whether it's through grants, because a lot of that position is grant funded. That's how our snowmobiles get paid for their work that they do. Clubs get paid. So the other 25% that we're adding would be city, because of the 40% that's county tax levy, we're going to shift a portion of that to work on the recreation side of county. So the county will be covering that, and then the city will have that 25%. So it is about a $15,000 increase to our budget. However, we have found funding to be able to do this for 2022 within our budget, because currently I have a full-time mechanic position that's been open since the first of the year. We do not have, it closes today, and I think we have 2 applicants, and I don't see it being filled for a while. But just in the cost savings, because that's a 50-50%, so 50% city, 50% county. With the savings we've already had from this first quarter of the year, we have enough to pay for this on both the city and the county side. So that would be for 2022. We also have another position that's vacant as of last Friday, and it'll be vacant for about a month and a half, so those 2 combined will definitely give us that for this year. For 2023, we don't see any budget increase because we do, as I proposed this to you last year, we had this position as a .6 position, and if we hired this position, we would eliminate a part-time kind of regular employee, and the cost savings of eliminating that staff are $12,500, which is the majority of this. And then we know that we can raise some revenue with some programs that we plan to offer, especially as we go into 2023, because we will hopefully establish some of that this year. So between revenue and the cost savings of that part-time employee, and if we need to make a little bit other adjustments for that little bit extra, we will see no increase from this position in our budget next year. So I'm bringing this for you to just be aware of today, to hear if you have any concerns or questions regarding this position. It is going through the county process, so it will go to the HR Finance Committee meeting tomorrow night, and then need to go through county board later this month before I can make this change and advertise for it. So we wouldn't hire anybody on till probably mid to late April, 1st of May, which does help us get them in before the summer season, but not a lot of time. So if you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Polly. All right, so in other words, you're just bringing this to us now, you're not looking for action, is that correct?
Right. As I talked to the finance director, I don't know that we need any action on the city side, because technically we are county employees, and if it's a budget neutral item, we're not asking for any change. But I think it would be good to know if the Parks Committee supports this, because a big portion of this change is for the aquatic side, that's for the city.
So you're not looking for any motion at this time?
Well, I could make a motion
maybe a motion of support.
to send our recommendation along to finance.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay.
So we have a motion from Alder Neal to forward our recommendation along to finance, and that's seconded by Alder Larson. Any comments from other committee members? Or the same committee members? Any discussion?
I would support it. The Park Commission on the county side supported it. I think it's a good idea and has potential for recreational offerings that are always appreciated by the citizens.
Thank you, Alder Peckham. So we'll be voting on the motion to forward our recommendation to the Finance Committee in favor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
So,
Pass that on tomorrow.
great. Then we'll move on to item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding park facility roofing color and material educational items.
Educational items is number 7, so.
Sorry, I freestyled that a bit. We'll cut it off at, let me read it one more time. Discussion and possible action regarding park facility roofing color and material.
Perfect.
And stop.
Thank you. This is something that we're bringing forward more for, Mr. Peckham can talk to how this was brought forward to the Parks Commission, but we have quite a few buildings within our system, both on the city and on the county, that are in need of new roofs. Now typically, this is not something we would bring to committee or the commission to talk about. We brought it through the Parks Commission on the county side because of the fact that there's been a lot of comments about this history of, especially our county parks, being most of them are so old. And the look and the feel of the parks, whether it's the signage or the buildings or whatever. And I guess really when it comes down to is Marathon Park is where you really predominantly see the bright red roof. It's not as, this is on the picture in your packet, that's the red roof we're talking about. I know when I go to the other parks, I don't necessarily notice the roof color, it's more in Marathon Park. And so, but we have come across kind of a unique situation in that the traditional cottage red roofing that we've always used on our city and our county buildings is no longer available. We have a little bit of it on hand. We did order a few pallets that we found. There is one contractor who has some on hand. We do have plans to do the cattle barn roofs this year through a contractor, so those will be done in the red. But we wanted to just bring it forward because, for that nostalgia. If we started changing the look of the parks, especially on the county side, I know it would have a lot of people calling and asking why. But also, because it does carry over, we've kind of kept the same look as we've done city parks as well, is whether or not we wanted to try to stay with that red color. If we're just looking at one building in a park, it's not probably a big deal, but when you look at a park that has multiple shelters or multiple little roofs like this that all kind of match now, do you want to start changing that and having that look different or stay uniform? Mr. Peckham asked that I bring this also to the city committee as a discussion because it does carry over, but the Park Commission did move last week to stick with the red color. So there is a new color coming out that's similar to the cottage red, so we'll stick with the red. But they also, then we talked about metal roofing, because that's something that's different. We don't have it right now in the parks in many cases. We do, I guess, on some of the newer shelters, and some of the newer shelters were not built with the uniformity, I guess, in mind. I'm not sure why, but we can do that now, and we can get red roofing. The metal roofing is more expensive, about 2 times more expensive, but it does last 3 to 5 times longer than the asphalt shingles. We can get a similar color. So the Park Commission, in their motion, they moved to stick with a uniform color throughout the parks, but to use metal roofing where appropriate. Not on everything. Maybe on a smaller building like I show you here with this well, it would be more the asphalt shingles. But if we think it's a bigger roof that we need longer life out of, that we would want to put that additional money into, then we would go with the metal roofing. So I guess we're bringing it here for discussion because it is aesthetic.
Alder Neal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we talked about metal being preferred because of its longer life, yet it's twice as expensive to buy, would you might look at your installation schedule over years and say, well, rather than, if we had, the regular tile, which we would have done, 11 structures this season, we're going to do 6 in metal instead or something. Do you see that kind of planning?
I do see that planning. We'll stick with the budget that we have and do what we can, and we prioritize those buildings. Mr. Sims is on also from operations. Andy, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure. We had a similar discussion in the commission meeting as well. So we have multiple roofs that are at that point in their life where they do need to be replaced, and the list that we provided to the commission is what needs to be replaced, but it doesn't all necessarily have to be done this year. So the thinking would be on structures that are, of higher value with, perhaps like an enclosed shelter where there's things to protect on the inside. That would be more suitable to use steel roofing on, so we don't have to return to that building. Whereas, like Jamie mentioned, these little well houses and even our open shelters would most likely still just get asphalt shingled roofs in the interest of getting as many done as we can.
Also, now, you do have some of the red cottage on hand. Maybe you would use that in a spot repair kind of way, or kind of use it all up, like, I don't know. Seems to me.
So
if we're
we've
going-
got 4 pallets that we were able to purchase, and that would take us further than just spot repair. I anticipate we'll maybe keep a half a pallet on hand for that type of activity. But what we have right now, we will be able to make some headway this year in cottage red asphalt shingles on some roofs. But yeah, it's not apparently not available anymore, which is a little frustrating. But that's kind of why we brought this forward to see what other options that the committee would be open to.
Now, there was mention of maybe one provider that might have it on hand.
We have heard of one contractor who bought up quite a bit of it last year and may have it on hand. So one of the things is we can contract out some of this too, but it might, if they are the only one and we're asking for this specific color, it might skew the bidding a little bit, but it is an option.
Well, it's not really a question, I think, maybe of competitive bidding if they're the only ones able to
Right.
provide it. It's a single source kind of
True.
situation, so,
Yes.
all right, well. I don't know what our motion would be. I guess I would move to approve sticking with red as well and looking at metal where applicable.
Okay. This is where I can-
Alder Neal motions to stick with red and look at metal where applicable. Is there a second? Second from Alder Watson. Any discussion?
The only thing I would add would be that at the Park Commission, after listening to staff talk about the different situations where metal might be better than the asphalt, we opted to include that it would be up to staff discretion, as Mr. Sims mentioned, some buildings are higher value contents and stuff like that, so they would determine which got the metal roof and which, like a small structure like the one in our packet, probably just slap some asphalt on there and go on to the next one.
Thank you. Do you feel that the current motion covers that discretion sufficiently for you, Alder Peckham?
I think it's fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And item number 7 now, finally, educational items. Ms. Polly?
Thank you. So we have a few to update you on today is park updates. Riverside Park had some updates done to the kitchen and some painting and tiling done. We're going to be continuing doing the painting and the tiling after the rental that we just had. So that should be continuing. Pools, that we had CO2 systems installed in all 3 pools to reduce the sodium bicarbonate and acid, resulting in overall savings. So it's more of an efficiency that we added to the pools. Sylvan Hill is now, I guess Andy can update me. I haven't actually talked to him today about this, but our last weekend was supposed to be this last weekend for tubing. I know we had a pretty small group there last night, and conditions weren't necessarily the best with the rain this weekend, but any change on that, Andy?
Yeah, so I wrote these educational items last week, obviously. So, yeah, we're positive responding pretty bad at the Tubing Hill, and we're going to stop out there tomorrow and probably make the call to close both hills. Hill 2 is not usable, and Hill 1, with a video that I saw of some people going through on Sunday, was pretty ridiculous. So a lot of water at the bottom.
Yeah, and as you know, at Sylvan, we have some, I think when we did the parks tour, we talked about the natural springs we also have underneath there, so as those come up, it doesn't help the water issue. Ski trails, for Sylvan, we probably will close those as well. They may be good, but we've had a lot of walkers on them this year, which also makes it hard to groom on them and keep them good for cross-country skiing. Our 9-mile ski trails, we were able to open some of those back up today. We had them closed for the weekend with that rain. There is a few trails open, and they'll keep assessing them throughout the week, so we might have some opportunities available. And then for urban forestry, we're still working on ash trees at 3M Park will be removed. We did put RFP out for tree and stump removal, and we also got an update from our city forester that he did find another pocket of ash trees. And you know what? I printed off where it was, and I didn't take it off the printer. Andy, do you remember where that pocket was that John let us know about?
Yep, it's northeast 13th and I want to say Gilbert area, somewhere up in there, up in that neighborhood. And I think we're at nine boulevard trees right now that he recognized.
Okay, so he's going to be putting together some more educational pieces on this too, because once we recognize that these trees are infected with EAV, sometimes they can deteriorate very quickly. And so he's watching that and putting the plans together for when we need to remove those trees. But that's something we're going to be heavily watching, especially now in the northeast part of the town where we've found multiple pockets of trees. And then congratulations to Andy. He received an award from Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for working on how we reutilize our ash tree. I added the article to your packets. Hopefully you clicked on that, but I wanted to make sure he was recognized.
Great job, Mr. Sims.
I have a question about 3M Park and the ash trees.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there are a boatload of ash trees there, if that's going to make a significant difference in that park.
Going from memory, Pat, I want to say there's probably 20 trees-ish at 3M Park, and I know John and I had talked, and his plan is to repopulate that to some extent this year as well. So it'll be an impact, less of an impact than there was to Memorial Park last year. So
it won't be too severe.
no, I don't think it's probably not even going to be that noticeable because they're kind of interspersed in there. And I just want to add, I wrote the educational items with the exception of the thank you, the congratulations from Jamie. I would have never done that.
That's fine. If Jamie hadn't done it, I would have been mad at her.
Dodged a bullet there.
There you go.
And then just regular routine maintenance stuff, kind of getting ready to shift over to our summer operations, but not too early. So, want me to keep going on to the next one?
Yes, please.
I do not have an update for Riverside Park remediation yet at this time, and we're still waiting for that plan to come forward, and then Mr. Lindman will bring it forward to the committee and the city council for actually getting the work done, I believe, is the next step. We're waiting on that ROAR plan, the remediation plan. And then the last,
Alder Larson.
Miss Polly, do you have any idea if, this Riverside Park thing has been going on for quite a while now. Do you have any idea when this remediation will take place? Will it be this year finally?
well, I think that will depend on the city council and the funding and the plan that comes forward of how extensive it needs to be and where that funding comes from. I think the plan is, yes, as soon as we get that remediation report back, we keep it moving through the system. That's what Mr. Lindman's been trying to do. We were hoping to get the report back by the end of this last month, but I haven't seen anything yet. So as soon as we have it, we'll have back. But I think we would like to put it to bed if we can.
Thank you, Miss Polly.
Yep. All right. And the last educational item we have is, this is something that we had talked about at the last meeting. It was discussed about possibly putting this on as an action item for this meeting tonight. I have talked to Mr. Peckham about this when we got the information from Mr. Thompson at the DNR about where he's at with it. I had sent out an email to the committee a while ago, on February 16th when I got this, and didn't have any comments, but wanted to still make sure it was on the agenda for an informational report. He is potentially saying that the site can be sold, but it has to all be disclosed of what's out there, and then the new owner is going to be responsible for the investigation and the cleanup of the property. They have to disclose that it's contaminated, so I guess if this were the case and they were to sell it to somebody and we were to accept it from a donor, we'd have to clean it up, or we require that person that bought it to clean it up, but it is contaminated. He is trying to work to get it cleaned up, but right now he doesn't have a good contact for the group that he feels is the causer of it, which was in that email chain that you saw. And so that's where it's at, but he does have the information from the committee and from the city that once he has that contact, that he will continue pushing to have it cleaned up on behalf of the city, which is, I think, the action that the committee had talked about at the last meeting. Mr. Peckham, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think we might be able to help locate that contact, but that's just going to be operational rather than anything through the committee.
Any other comments or questions on that topic?
Nope.
Okay, item number 8, were you finished with the updates, Ms. Polly?
I was.
Okay, great. Item number 8, future agenda items. Any suggested items from committee members?
I do know, I forgot about it completely, I apologize, Mrs. Watson, dog park update, so I'll put that on for the next agenda.
Anything additional? Alder Peckham online, anything?
We probably should just plan on having Riverside Park remediation on there every time until it gets fixed. So some sort of note, whether it's informational or possibly if we're asked to approve some action plan or whatever we got, we should make sure we're ready for it.
Okay, great, we will do that. Alder Neal.
Would there be anything coming up as an update for plans for, new developments? Well, things like Barker Stewart Island, what might be next there, how are we going to address invasive species again? Are the goats coming back, or do we have other options? As well as, further development of that, and anything else in other parks where there might be some activity like that.
Okay.
Great, anything additional? And I think that's covered. And next meeting date, item number 9, Monday, April 4th at 4:30 p.m. Sound good to everyone?
Last night, one before the election.
And then the final item, adjournment. Is there a motion from Alder Larson, second by Alder Watson? All in favor?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you.